Buying a lot and concerned about owls, tortoises, or scrub jays? Welcome in. I'm Berry Cessna, your Southwest Florida real estate agent, and today we are here with Michael Frankenberger having an environmental assessment done on this lot right behind me. I have a client who is purchasing this lot. We connected him with a local general contractor as well as a lender so that he can build a great home and sell it for a profit in the fast-growing area of Northport, Florida. We have investors doing the same exact process in Cape Coral as well as Lehigh Acres. All right, Michael, so tell me, why is it so important to have an environmental assessment done when you're buying a lot in Cape Coral, Northport, or Lehigh Acres?
Well, what you want is somebody who knows what they're looking for, looking at the lot for environmental constraints that would actually cost you money or cost you additional money or prevent you from developing a lot.
Okay. Very good. So what are you looking for when you're looking at the lots? We're here in Northport today, and we've got a lot of trees back here. We've got a lot of potential environmental hazards. What are we looking for exactly?
Well, particularly in Northport, for any site, the first things I'm looking at is historical aerials and the soil maps. So what's the soil maps for the site? Because that could mean whether or not you have a wetland, for example, and it'll help me decide what type of habitats are there, based on the aerial photographs and the soils. Once we look at that, for example, these are all wetland soils for the most part, but they're not wetlands, they've been drained.
That's good to know.
And the historical aerial show us that. By doing our assessment, we also collect data that could prove that if it was asked by the agencies.
Okay.
So we could show that it's not jurisdictional wetlands. The other thing we're looking for is primarily in Northport, scrub jay areas. They're fairly well mapped out. Along the edges of those mapped areas, we get more and more. That's expanding. And then we're looking for gopher tortoises primarily.
Okay.
There's some eagle nests around the edges, but gopher tortoises are one of the primary things. So we're looking at those type of things. Also nests. Let's say we have a hawk nest or an owl nest. Those are restrictions, and while they're not a threatened species, that nest is still protected during a mating season. So you'd have to work around that time constraints.
Excellent. So let's say that somebody finds the perfect lot. They love the lot. However, there's some burrowing burrows on the lot. What's that going to take to get rid of those, or to actually mitigate that, or say they want to keep them maybe?
Well, the burrowing owls are probably the simplest of the listed species, although there's a time constraint.
Okay.
The burrowing owls typically nest in the spring. So the season is February 15th to July 10th, but it's not uncommon for them, especially the last few years, to start earlier, start in January or December. We cannot take an owl burrow when they're actively mating, when we believe they may have eggs or flightless young. Flightless young we'd see, we wouldn't know the eggs, but based on behavior, we would know that.
Excellent. What's the cost involved with removing burrowing owls?
Well, burrowing owl depends on the lot and the site plan and what the owner would like to do or the builder would like to do. It does have to be permitted by the owner and has to be permitted by a registered owl agent. And so you're going to be paying for the mitigation fee is usually the biggest part of that. So you can take owl burrows, and you may have 1 or 4 or 5 burrows on a lot if it's a big open lot. If it's one pair, it's still one, you're doing it as one pair. And that would be, if you're going to take them and not put anything back on your property, it would be $1,900 fee to a state identified agency for imperiled species protections. And then you'd also have to pay the consultant fee. So you're looking around $2,600, $2,700.
And that's
for a burrowing owl.
For a pair of owls. So if it's
for a pair of owls, a lot of times we have 4 to 5 burrows.
And for each one, you'd have to pay that same
for
fee.
The pair, not for each burrow.
Okay, very good. So tell me a little bit about tortoises. That's something we've been finding around the Cape Coral Northport area as well.
Yeah, gopher tortoises are probably more common, especially in the Northport and Port Charlotte areas, and areas of the Cape. Owls are everywhere in the Cape Coral, but there are sections that are just full of gopher tortoises. Gopher tortoises are per burrow, whether there's a gopher tortoise or not. If it's an open burrow, it's protected by a 25-foot radius. They're 25 feet in all directions, and you can't encase them in that either. You have to have if you're going to build and do that, you have to let them move. But if you can protect your burrows by a minimum 25-foot protection area and have a way for them to find cover and food and be able to move on and off that area, you don't need a permit. But if you're going to do any construction within that 25 feet radius, you need to get a burrow take. Now that can get quite expensive. So a burrow take, there's two types. You can do on-site relocation if you have less than 10 gopher tortoise burrows on your property. But that requires minimum sizes and offsets from the protection area. So it's very constraining. It's going to be very limited on the site plan and the size of the lot. So triple lots in the Cape out here, there's a good possibility you can do it a back corner of your property. But once you start looking at needing septic and wells, they start eating up additional area outside of your footprint that we also have to consider throwing a patio or a fence, because they can also sometimes limit you from fencing. So then you have to go off-site. Off-site gopher tortoise permits, you would have an agent capture them after permitting, capture them and relocate them to a permitted mitigation bank. And that is the rub. Most of the local ones in Southwest Florida, all of the local ones are full, so we're now taking them up out of the area. We're taking them further to the north. And to do a bank, it's very land intensive. Permitted banks are large areas that are perpetually permitted and protected for the gopher tortoise. So you're buying property by buying conservation for off-site. So you're looking at, right now, where are we in? October of 2023, we're looking at roughly $5,000 to $6,000 per tortoise for the bank fee itself. Plus the consultant fees to do the surveys, the permit application. So you're looking at another, $2,000 to $3,000 on top of that for a few burrows, and keep going up. Those have to be done by an authorized gopher tortoise agent off-site. Also has to be permitted to the owner, and then the cost can get significantly high. We calculate, let's say you have 5 gopher tortoise burrows. There's a gopher tortoise will use multiple burrows, so we would calculate, the state calculates a 50%, but then you're going to end up rounding up, you're going to be 3, so you're going to be looking at 3 times that $5,000 fee just for the mitigation costs, and then throw on the additional fees for the consultant. So it can get pretty expensive pretty fast.
With the gopher tortoises, definitely. So that's a good thing to be aware of, is gopher tortoises create quite a challenge. So now here in Northport, we're seeing heritage trees. Now, do they have heritage trees in Lehigh Acres as well, or?
Technically, yes. Lehigh Acres would be done by Lee County. It's not a city. It's not a city. They have 20 inches. 20 inches and above is a heritage tree. It's not as strict as Northport. So Northport and Port Charlotte have recently put together a new tree clearing permit that affects all single family lots. And you identify any tree, any native tree, and select landscape trees that they have identified over 12 inches that you would protect, plus some scrub oaks that would be small, would actually get covered for protected trees. And then they have a formula for offsetting. So if you want to clear a lot, even though most of these are pine trees and a few cabbage palm trees that are less than 12 inches, there are a handful that are over 12, and the cabbage palm trees over 6 feet in height would be calculated for a take. And so you end up doing a calculation, and you're doing a balance. You get more credit for keeping one than you get for taking them. So a lot of times one tree can offset 3 of a similar size that are taken. But the heritage trees in Northport and Port Charlotte are 24 inches diameter at breast height, which is 4.5 feet above the ground. That's the diameter of the trunk. And once they get that big, they don't have there's an incentive to keep those, and that incentive is cost. You can take them, but you're going to be paying $100 per inch diameter of the trunk of the tree.
Oh wow, okay.
So they can get a 40-inch oak tree is going to be costing you $4,000.
$4,000 for a 40-inch.
But if you can keep it, it's going to be offsetting 3 times its diameter for other trees. So it's going to get a great benefit for saving it.
Oh wow.
If you have one near the edge of your property or in a corner, it can add value to your property, aesthetic value, shade value, and it'll offset a tremendous amount of clearing on your property. So it can be a blessing to have one on a property you're buying, or if it's in the center of the property, it's a curse. It's really going to be a major cost, unanticipated cost.
Excellent. So if you have a heritage tree on the side of your property, it can be a good thing because it'll offset taking the other trees off the lot. If it's in the middle of the lot where it hinders you from building your house, then it can be a real challenge and cost quite a bit of money. Now, as Michael was telling me, one of the best trees to have on your lot, a heritage tree, is the live oak tree. Is that correct?
A live oak tree near somewhere where you can avoid it, a front corner, a back corner. Not only does it give you the credit, it's the classic southern tree. It's a classic tree of the south. The large tree, crooked branches, really nice shade. Gives shade to your property, gives you habitat on your property, and it actually is shown to increase the value of your property by having a mature oak, a live oak tree in particular, on your property, and significantly increases your property resale.
Very good. So scrub jays, is that something we need to be concerned about, or that's pretty easy?
Yeah, not easy, not hard. In Northport and Port Charlotte, the good thing are they both have on the county, takes a little bit of searching, but you can find a list of areas known to have scrub jays. For example, we're in Northport, the northwestern edge of Northport, a tremendous area of scrub jays, and then the southeast.
Okay.
They have it as a map, a visual, and then they also have it as a list of known lots. Make sure you there's 2 lots list online right now. Make sure you get the one that's about 40 pages.
Okay.
There's one that's about 3 pages. It doesn't cover most of them.
Okay, that's a good thing.
They go in order by lot number, so they're easy to search, but they will let you know if they're known. It's not just if you have a scrub jay on it, they're also doing a buffer, so they're circles. Each one they know about has a circle. I've had some lots that are in the red zone on the map. They don't have scrub jays, but automatically you're going to have to permit for scrub jay takes, and you don't take scrub jays, you take their habitat, or you could go in and negotiate with the Fish and Wildlife Service and say, well, I don't have the habitat or scrub jays on here. There's a barrier. That distance could be over a big canal. You could have a different habitat type in the Northwest. In particular, I've seen this.
Okay.
You can argue it, but that's going to cost you time. So they have it now, definitely in Northport and Port Charlotte, and I think Northport, where you can just pay a fee. You cannot clear habitat in scrub jay areas during mating season. And
Okay.
I'm not going to swear by the dates,
Right.
but it's generally March. I think it's mid-March through mid-June. But I'd
Okay.
have to verify that, and that's
Excellent.
online. That's in there. You couldn't start your clearing. You'd have to start it before or after, because that's when they nest low in shrubs and scrub oaks. And if you go through and take it, they can't move. So if you clear if you get your permits in before you clear before the season, you can do it.
Okay. Wow, what a wealth of information. It's amazing, Michael. Thank you so much for sharing. One thing I'm really curious about, though, when I drive through Northport looking lots, they've all got these full trees, a lot of underbrush going on here. And when I drive through Cape Coral, all the lots are completely cleared. What's the difference?
Cape Coral's going to hate me for this. One, Cape Coral was started about a decade, 15 years earlier. It was like Northport, actually more than Northport. It was beautiful hydric pine flatwoods, transitional pines, and upland pines. Those were its primary habitats, but lots of streams. That was all completely destroyed in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, including going into mangroves.
Oh, wow. Okay.
What they did is they went through, the developers at the time, they bought that huge, almost 100 square miles,
Yeah.
roughly, where they just cleared it, dug the canals, cleared everything, dug the canals, threw the canal fill up, and spread it out in order to get enough height, enough elevation for it not to be wetland.
Okay.
Soil quality was very poor. You had very few trees in it, and also once the city got established, they actually mow vacant lots. So now that the lots are older and they're starting to grow up weedy, they'll keep mowing them. They actually the city actually charges vacant landowners twice a year, I think, to mow their lots. Northport, they didn't do as much they did as much drainage. The same thing. Northport was primarily rangeland, had been agricultural land, been rangeland, mainly open, didn't have a lot of trees to begin with. And then they went in, the areas with trees were usually along sloughs, which they've turned into canals.
Okay.
So the same thing, the whole area was basically they came in over a 20-year period, start clearing the area that needed to be cleared, but mainly cutting out the called sloughs, shallow areas, ephemerally flooded or with flowing waters. They dug those as canals, linked the isolated wetlands to them with ditches, and then threw that dirt out to bring up your elevations. So a lot of the areas that were wet were filled, but they didn't do as much filling as Cape did. And the soils are generally better, and a lot of times they left more trees. And so then they got left almost untouched for a much longer time. So there was a burst before 2002 where you had about 20% of what you see now, 20-30% of what you see now was built, and then it just seemed to, it
slowed up quite a bit.
It just settled. Now, there's very little. The new growth is really in the last 3 or 4 years. It's really starting to explode now. Where Cape Coral had exploded before the 2008 bust. Yeah. Took a pause and then took off like gangbusters. So they've been more actively going for a longer time recently.
Okay. Wow, that's some great information. Michael, it's always a pleasure to work with you. Thank you so much. You're a wealth of information. I highly recommend, if you're thinking about buying a lot here in Cape Coral, Lehigh Acres, Northport, Port Charlotte, anywhere in Southwest Florida, Michael's your guy. He's going to come in, take a look at the lot. He's going to look at everything from the trees to the gopher tortoises, burrows. He's going to look at the elevation, everything to make sure that that's a great lot for what you need to build your dream home or investment on. Always a pleasure, Michael. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yes, sir.
Always appreciate it. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Wow, that was some great information. I hope you found this to be helpful in understanding the environmental concerns of buying a lot in Cape Coral, Northport, and Lehigh Acres. If you would like to know anything else about buying, selling, or investing in lots here in Southwest Florida, feel free to contact me. All my information is below, and I can't wait to chat with you. Thank you, Michael, for being with us today. You gave us a wealth of information. And remember, when you purchase your Southwest Florida lot with me, we give you a 20% discount off the environmental assessment, making realty dreams a reality here in Southwest Florida.